Let's jump right into the textual mechanics of ancient scriptural interpretation. We're going to see how ancient scholars turned syntax, literally the grammar of a sentence, into a highly precise science. It's fascinating because we'll see firsthand how the absolute smallest of words, like a simple and or an or, completely shift the boundaries of legal liability. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We've got the baseline prohibition, including sacrificial animals, the hybrid edge case, analyzing the word or, the conjunction debate, and finally, a final stress test. First up, the baseline prohibition. Our journey starts with a fundamental restriction regarding animal slaughter from Leviticus. It reads, "And whether it be a bull or a sheep, you shall not slaughter it and its offspring both in one day." Now, on the surface, it's a very clear law rooted in preventing cruelty, but figuring out exactly which categories of animals this applies to, well, that requires a seriously meticulous reading of the text. Part 2, including sacrificial animals. The very first thing the scholars needed to lock down was whether this rule actually applies to the sacred domain of the temple. To figure that out, they looked at the immediate context. The preceding verse discusses the exact timeline for accepting a bull, sheep, or goat as a sacred offering. Then, right after that, we get our prohibition against slaughtering a mother and its offspring on the same day. By placing the rule immediately after those guidelines for sacred offerings, the text naturally sweeps sacrificial animals right into the prohibition. But there's more. Check out the very first word, and. The verse doesn't just say whether it be a bull, it explicitly says and whether it be a bull. That specific conjunction links the non-sacred matters directly back to the sacred matters of the previous verse, ensuring the rule universally applies to both. Moving on to part 3, the hybrid edge case. So we've got the macro rules established, but what happens when we hit a biological edge case? Specifically, animals of diverse kinds. This refers to a hybrid, like the offspring of a ewe and a goat. Now here's where it gets really interesting. An animal of diverse kinds is entirely unfit to be a sacrificial offering. So if the law we just discussed heavily targets sacrificial animals, you might logically think that a hybrid, which is completely barred from the altar anyway, would be totally excluded from this slaughtering prohibition. Let's dive into part 4, analyzing the word or. Despite that logic, the ancient teaching insists this prohibition absolutely does apply to diverse kinds. And to prove why, we have to do some profound grammatical deduction. Remember, the text says a bull or a sheep. In biblical interpretation, the word sheep typically denotes a purebred animal. It naturally excludes hybrids. So to legally include hybrids, scholars had to find a superfluous word, an extra word that didn't strictly need to be there, to act as an inclusionary mechanism. And they homed in on the word or. Why say bull or a sheep instead of just listing them out? Watch how this logic builds. It's basically a linguistic puzzle. They systematically eliminate alternative uses for or. Is or leaded to tell us you don't have to slaughter both species to be guilty? No, that separation is already handled by the singular phrase, its offspring. Okay. Is or needed to show liability for slaughtering either the mother-offspring pair of the bull or the sheep? Also no, because the verse uses the singular word, it. So by process of elimination, the word or is completely superfluous. Its only remaining purpose is to legally expand the rule to include hybrids. To sum that up, liability separation is achieved by those singular words, it and its offspring, leaving or completely free to expand the law's boundaries. But wait, this brilliant deduction rests on a huge assumption. It assumes the word it is also superfluous and doing the job of separating the liabilities. And that assumption? Well, it triggers a much broader foundational linguistic dispute. That brings us to section 5, the conjunction debate. We basically have a clash between two great minds here, Rabbi Yoshiya and Rabbi Yonatan. They look at conjunctions completely differently. Rabbi Yoshiya argues that conjunctions like and are incredibly strict. If a law says A and B, it literally means both together, unless the text explicitly gives you extra words to separate them. Rabbi Yonatan, however, takes a much more flexible view. He argues that conjunctions naturally mean both together and each separately, unless the verse specifically says they must act together. So for Rabbi Yonatan, A and B naturally implies separate liabilities without needing extra words like it, which means the word or in our animal case was always superfluous right from the start, making it perfect for including hybrids. Finally, part 6, the final stress test. To really understand the depth of this divide, we need to stress test their theories on an entirely different, incredibly severe law. A man who curses his father and his mother shall die. This is the ultimate battleground for their theories on conjunctions. Notice the phrasing, his father and his mother. The big question is, what if someone curses just their father but not their mother? Are they still liable? We know for a fact a person is liable for cursing just one parent, but how do we actually prove it from the text? Well, for Rabbi Yoshiya, because and strictly means both together, he's in a bind. He has to look at the verse's somewhat repetitive ending, which says, his father and his mother he has cursed, to find the extra textual evidence needed to legally separate the crimes. But for Rabbi Yonatan, no extra derivation needed at all. Since he argues and naturally means both together or each separately, the conjunction itself inherently covers the individual acts. And that perfectly illustrates our main takeaway for this explainer. A single conjunction doesn't just connect words on a page. It literally alters the boundaries of liability. It dictates the inclusion of edge cases like hybrids, and it completely shifts the weight of the law itself. It really shows how these ancient scholars turned syntax into a rigorous science. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? The next time you read a contract or a legal document, exactly how much weight is hiding behind the word and or the word or.